Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for another Optc video, and in today's video, alongside the New Year's units, we have some new level limit breaks, and everybody loves level limit breaks because it makes old units relevant again. Now, for myself, I actually prefer reading like the new level limit breaks over some of the new character information sometimes, because some of my favorite characters can be revitalized, and it's actually good utilizing them once again. Now, obviously, level limit break is a huge investment. You need 10 copies of the unit, which is very hard to do for most players, especially with some of these older legends not really coming back on majority of banners. However, I do think they sort of fall short just a little bit with what sort of like we see with the new characters. Nevertheless, it is really nice and refreshing to see. And in today's video, we're going to break down the New Year's level limit break batch. So if you enjoyed the video, belt the like button as always. If you're new to the channel, hit the big red subscribe button, hit the bell notification, and do all that good stuff. Most importantly, enjoy the video. Let's dive in. Let's take a look at the level limit breaks for the start of 2023. Alright, so huge shout out to the Discord for the new information tab and the new character information. So the first character we're looking at is V1 Shirahoshi. V1 Shirahoshi, with her level limit break, her captain does 5 times healing at the end of turn, boosts character's attack by 3 times, rest of your crew by 4 times, reduces damage by 15% and turns in turns that character doesn't attack, meaning Shirahoshi, allows you to heal up to 2 times the crew's max HP, ignoring the HP limit. So basically she gained this particular effect where she can just double healing. Getting overheal is incredibly powerful. She also has damage reduction, and she was always a very stally kind of captain if you were ever using her for that. If you live and break plus her, it goes up to 7 times recovery. The 4 times goes to 4.5, and that's basically all I can see here. Her special with level limit break delays all enemies by 1 turn. I think that is quite new. I don't remember her delaying in the past. Ignoring immunity to delay or status effects, so that's very good. So you can use this to get a guaranteed conditional boost for striker-based teams. With the new Robin and the new Nami, there's a lot more conditional boosts coming to the game, so this is actually a very, very good effect. She then changes all slots, including block, into rainbow slots, which was always good, and then changes the attack multiplier of rainbow slots to 2.25 for 1 turn, and reduces recovery down, recovery bump by 15 turns, and heals 150 times her recovery. So that's a lot of healing. Like, that is guaranteed a max heal. If you use her as a captain, obviously you get the 2 times healing. You're going to use other characters, though. I wish this went through the HP limit as well. The 150, so that way you could use her as a sub on other teams and you wouldn't have to worry about that. But this is amazing, getting the rainbow slots. Making them 2.25 is actually a buff now, because this is just an extra 0.25 free damage, and delaying all enemies for 1 turn and going through immunity is very, very good. She was actually very good in Rumble as well. Her Rumble special at level 10 targets teammates within a large range for healing. She always did that. I think these numbers just got bigger. Targets team for blow away % up level 3 for 20 seconds. And then targets teammates for attack up level 3 and defense up level 2. It is what it is. Like, it's kind of whatever. Side teammates critical % up level 3. Int teammates attack level 3, attack down level 2. And if your HP is below 50%, she gives herself level 21 recovery up. And then level 3 something. I don't know what that means. But basically, this is why you wanted to use her. If you got below 50% and then you got the heal off, you basically got a free, like, max heal, which is actually wild. And then you have for all your HP, and then the enemy doesn't, and then you can sort of just stall out to your next round of specials. That's why she was good on side teams. Nowadays, she's not really used that much, but she still is an option. Her resistance is to action bind and int damage reduction. So overall, Shirahoshi got a pretty good buff. I'm very happy with what they did with Shirahoshi. I think they could have done a little bit more, but like I said, you can't be too critical with these level limit breaks. Like I said, the only thing that I would have loved to see is if this was healing over the max HP limit. Like, that would have just made her so much better. Because remember, Shirahoshi's just a striker, and besides Sai and striker teams, she doesn't really go anywhere else. On to the next character now. Let's sort of slide down here a little bit. We're on to V2 Jinbe. So V2 Jinbe got his level limit break as well. And I actually recently pulled my final copy for Jinbe to actually get him to max level limit break. So I'm actually pretty keen to see what this guy actually does. So Jinbe at max level limit break, if you have a strength, dex, psi characters on the crew, so you need 1 of each of those colors. Obviously Jinbe satisfies the dex color. Reduces crew special charge by 1 turn at the start of the quest. Love to see it. Strength Dex Psi characters attack by 4.5, HP by 1.75, and makes Dex, Recovery, and Tandem have matching slot effects. At the start of the battle 3, changes the left column slots into Dex, Strength, and Psi, and the right column into Recovery, Int, and Quick, starting from the top. This is actually a really cool addition. I really like that they've done this because Jinbei's special is so built up around having one of every single orb, and it's very hard to do that. Obviously, they released a batch unit being Praline, who's an amazing rare recruit, as well as Aladdin, who could do this for you. However, bringing both of them on the team, obviously you lost then half your team with Jinbe, Aladdin, and Praline. So it was a little bit finicky to do, and then you obviously had to use all your specials in one turn. It was a bit annoying. Now, Jinbe, as a captain, literally does it for you on battle 3, which is really, really cool if you need to use his special on turn 3. His level limit break plus captain basically just makes these numbers a bit bigger. You get a 5 times captain instead of 4.5. And then at the start of battle 5 as well, you get that same effect where you get all of the orbs. Plus he then locks them for 1 turn. So that way you can get them from battle 3 into battle 4 and battle 5 into battle 6 if you need it. But this is great for like, basically this says if you're running like an arena and there's no block orbs or anything like that, you can just get the orbs that you need for Jinbe for the rest of the fight, which is awesome. His special at level limit break 5 reduces all enemies' HP by 20%, reduces slot bind by 10 turns. I think off the top of my head, really Bonnie's the only other character that can do this, so that's really interesting to see another slot bind remover. Dex, Strength, and Psi characters get 2.25 times attack for 3 turns now. That's interesting. It used to be 1. I like the 3, but I don't know how I feel about not making this bigger. Makes type slots have matching slot effects for 3 turns, so even if you don't have a way of making all those orbs matching, you are now going to have them all matching. Because he makes recovery and he's captain, he makes recovery and tandem orbs matching. If one slot of each of basically all of them is present, it doesn't have the tandem and recovery, so you just need one of the every type, which is kind of interesting. That's kind of cool. Is present when the special is launched. You get a chain multiplier of 3.75 for 3 turns. That is very good. Obviously, like I said with Halloween Ace, chain lock has been completely power crept by chain boundary, but 3.75 chain lock is still very, very good. It's still going to help you in a lot of pieces of content. It's still going to help you into like arenas, if you're still doing garbs challenges and stuff like that. Probably finish garbs challenges because you're not going to have 10 copies of Jinbe and not beat a garbs challenge, right? But nevertheless, in some of that those hard pieces of content, Jinbe is going to be a very, very good option. For big damage teams and all that sort of stuff, Jinbe's not going to be your man. But when it comes to stuff like arenas and 10-star Kazunas, those types of areas, treasure map, this guy is going to be a very, very good option. His Rumble special targets enemies within a medium range for HP of 30% reduction. Targets fighter, slasher, shooter teammates for attack up level 3. Defense up level 3 for 21 seconds. His ability is for strength, dex, and psi characters, giving HP up level 5, defense up level 3, and all enemies attack down level 3 and miss up level 2. That's a pretty good passive, to be honest. Obviously, like, dex doesn't really need this kind of help. But you could put him on some sort of, like, fighter build. That could definitely be an option, or even some sort of powerhouse build. For me, though, the other Jinbe sort of are way better. The new Jinbe being a powerhouse booster for powerhouse fighters, and then the original Jinbe V1 with his level limit break, he's just way better for fighter teams than what I can actually see here. But he's definitely an option, and this passive is actually very, very good. So Jimbo, V2 Jimbo, getting a lot of love lately, big old Jinbe. I do like it. I like it a lot. Mainly because it ties into what he was trying to do, and it's quite quirky. Not broken, nothing special like that, but again, level limit breaks, they don't really tend to be that anyway. On to the next character now, we have V1 Fujitora. The original god with the HP cut shenanigans that this man used to do, used to be actually wild. So let's see what his level limit break is going to bring, and see what the level limit break of V1 Fujitora has to offer. He boosts driven characters' attack by 5 times when slots match, 4 times otherwise. That's a big drop. Like, 5 to 4 is a big drop. Like, this could have easily been 4.5. Easily. Boosts their HP by 1.5 and makes int, recovery, and tandem slots have matching slot effects. And then launches Gravity Blade Collapsing Heaven at the start of the quest. So you basically get his special just off the bat. And with his special, he does a 20% HP cut at the end of every turn. So getting this straight from the beginning is very, very good. At Limit Break Plus, it goes up to 5.25. He makes Strength Orbs matching on top of the int, recovery, and tandem. And that's basically all his changes are. Again, 4 times. It's such a big drop. I get it he makes orbs matching, but like that's not always going to be the case. He's special at level limit break 5, reduces enemies' HP by 20%, changes the crew's type slots into character and type, which is good to get to 5.25. Doubles driven character slot effects for 5 turns. Remember, this pops off at the start of the quest. This goes off turn 1. Makes crews quick slots into int slots for 10 turns. Okay, so now if you have him at Limit Break Plus and level Limit Break 5, you get int, strength, recovery, tandem, and quick, so you're just missing Dex and Psi. I think this would have been better if it was Psi. If this was Psi orbs, like into ints, you would have no negative orb for this man right here. Interesting. But he does make int orb smashing, so like that's always fun. Reduces all enemies' HP by 20% at the end of every turn. Now, obviously with normal attacks only and all those shenanigans to nerf stuff like HP cut strats, which used to be like the rave back in the day, this isn't as powerful as it seems. Doubling slot effects for 5 turns, whilst yes, it is 5 turns, it's only a 2 times orb buff. Remember, like level limit break of Buggy does this for 20 turns, like, so I think this could have been way higher. Like 2.25 wouldn't have hurt. And like I said, this could have been 4.25 to 4.5. Honestly, I would have liked to see 4.5. His Rumble special targets all enemies for HP of 40% reduction. That is very good. Then targets Psi type enemies for attack down level 8, recovery down level 8. So he's basically a Psi killer now. He's very good in Rumble, don't get me wrong. But with the Pirate Rumble Fuji, I think the Pirate Rumble Fuji is always going to trump this guy. He gives attack up level 7, HP up level 7, very good passive, and heals 150 at every interval and reduces damage from Psi for 30%. So Fuji, honestly for me, probably got the shortest end of the stick when it comes to these level limit breaks. Well, from what we've seen so far anyway. Yeah, just like the HP strats have obviously dropped off significantly. Nevertheless, I do like, again, that they've sort of tied into his gimmicks. And we'll have to wait and see in something like Grand Voyage or whatever if that actually is feasible. For Grand Voyage, he is a driven powerhouse, so he could be used on the Beriate stage or the Orangetown stage. I feel like he's going to be more useful in the Orangetown stage because you get the orb boost for 5 turns. That's sort of where I sort of see him being used. But in saying that, he might be very good in Beriate as well. But look, quite doubtful nowadays. As for the other two, I don't really see them being used in any of the Grand Voyage stages. One day we'll get a Cerebral that can help with... One day we'll get a Cerebral that can help with local sea monster. Next is Lucci. Now, Lucci has a 6+ and a 6-star that are two very different. So we're going to break down the powerhouse first. Then we're going to look at the shooter variation of Lucci. Very easy to switch back between this guy. I think he takes regular skulls, which is always nice. And same with the last unit on this list as well. He boosts powerhouse characters' attack by 4 times. Further 1.06 per perfect. Finishing at a 5.35 times captain boost for powerhouse. He boosts HP by 1.2 times, and then cuts the recovery in half. He does not have a limit break plus. Now, this is very strong, but remember, this is all about back-ended damage. It's why Lucci was so good when he first released, because the multiplier was so high. But obviously, you're starting at a 4 times multiplier no matter what, which is very, very low. So you have to sort of build your team out that way. But nevertheless, you don't have to put powerhouse characters on the team when you have this sort of stuff. Because as long as you hit perfects with the early units that aren't doing much damage, you can rely on your powerhouse characters to get this type of damage. So it's not too bad, it's just not great. His special drastically reduces all enemies' defense for 2 turns. Now that should be an 80% damage reduction. Why? Reduces all damage threshold by 6 turns. Deals major non-type damage to all enemies and changes powerhouse character slot into their own type. Boosting the type effects of normal attacks for powerhouse characters by 2.5 for 1 turn. And then heals 20% of the maximum HP. So this is new. Getting the color affinity for 1 turn, which is quite interesting. I don't think powerhouse characters really needed that. They have other units that are just better at doing that. But 2.5 is still very good, especially for a color affinity boost being like 2.75 being the highest in the game. So, like, this is very good. Like, this is nothing to scoff at. I just don't think powerhouse characters really needed this. He's got damage threshold reduction for 6 turns. Great utility. This pisses me off. Shout out to my boy Sim. 80% defense reduction. Why? Why not make it 100%? It just makes no sense. It's 2023. We don't want to see 80% defense reduction, especially when you're giving bosses disgusting amounts of HP. It's silly. It's silly. I'll cop it on Lucci, to be honest, but I'm not copying on something like a Super Sugafest like Robin, which have done so dirty on that girl. His Rumble special level 10 targets enemies within a large horizontal range for defense down level 6. An attack of 1.9 times. His Rumble ability then is for shooter class teammates, which is so odd, because he's all about powerhouse. Shooter class teammates HP up level 6, speed up level 6, and when you hit a critical, he gives himself attack up level 3 up to 3 times. He heals at 150 per interval and has damage reduction for strength by 30%. So, Lucci, He's not bad. He's nothing too crazy. Honestly, like nowadays as a powerhouse captain, you are never running this guy as a powerhouse captain. Powerhouse has so many better options, namely Lucci, like the super type Lucci. You're going to be running that Lucci if you're running Lucci at all for powerhouse teams. But this guy is definitely an option for you guys if you're looking for a powerhouse color affinity booster. Off the top of my head, you have something like Kaido Crew is probably going to be most people's picks. And I know there's a lot of other options. I'm just not thinking of them right now. But like I said, 2.5 times color affinity is definitely nothing to scoff at. And this guy, he did get a buff. I just don't think it's a buff that Powerhouse really needed. But in saying that, he does have a 6+. His 6+ is a shooter based. And shooters definitely need more help than what Powerhouse needs. So I'm very interested to see what level limit break 5 shooter Lucci actually has to bring. The next unit we're going to talk about is the Tank Man as well. We're going to glance through Tank Man and go straight down here because it's a bit wonky in terms of the information. So there's a lot of text on the screen, but basically we're looking right at the top. So he reduces Lucci 6+, reduces special charge by 1 turn at the start of the quest, boosts shooter character's attack by 4.75, and then goes up by 1.25 per perfect strike up to 5.374, but then sets the recovery to 0. Now, this, in my opinion, is way better than the Powerhouse Lucci because you're starting at a much higher multiplier. 4.75 is drastically better than 4 times. Like, it's off the charts. Whilst they finish close to the same, the 4.75 starting point is way better. Sets the recovery to 0 is a bit of a bummer. I did like the half cut, but like, honestly, if you're getting a half cut compared to 0, for me, it's kind of like, I'm not even like taking that into consideration. But it now means that you literally cannot heal if you are using this guy as a captain. Where with the half healing, like at least you're getting some sort of healing. But you still have auto heal, you still have ships. You have all those types of shenanigans too. He, at level limit break plus, he's going to give 2 turns of cooldown at the start of the quest, which is great compared to the 1 turn, which is still very, very good. And then he boosts shooter character attack by 5 times and then maxes at 5.65. Like, this is huge. That's huge. That is technically, on like paper, that is the 2nd highest captain in the game, behind Yamato, the newest Super Sugo Fest. That's wild to me that Lucci is now the 2nd highest attack boosting captain. Like, actually wild. However, Yamato being 5.75 is a little bit higher, and like this is only going to be for 1 unit, so like just remember that. His special then drastically reduces all defense for 1 turn. Again, why not make it 100%? I don't get it. 80% is kind of like, get out of my face. However, like I said, I'll cop it on Lucci. Just 2023, Bandai, don't be doing this shit on Super Sugo Fest like you've done Robin dirty. Like, just know that we're not happy about Robin. Like, we have a narc with you, Bandai. Deals massive quick damage to 1 enemy. I wish that was all enemies, but 1 is what it is. Reduces paralysis and burn by 6 turns. Off the top of my head, he always did this. Maybe the burn's new, and I think maybe they've increased it to 6 turns over 5. Changes shooter character slots to their own type. Awesome. And then boosts type effects of normal attacks of shooters by 2.5 for 1 turn, and does a 1.75 conditional boost to defense down enemies. Okay, so basically the defense down, the drastically reducing defense, is basically for his conditional boost. That's fine, I can get around that, but I still think just making it 100%, like, why not? Like, why not? It's not that big of a deal. Plus, it gives the unit way more usability when you are coming up against units with defense up. However, like I said about the Powerhouse Lucci, if you have defense up, you're probably going to bring the other Lucci, the super type Lucci, that can literally remove all defense up. So that is something to note. But it is kind of interesting that you can sort of do some shenanigans there with some conditional boosting, with some color affinity, and shooters definitely need a color affinity, to be honest. It's very interesting to see that this guy is getting a conditional boost and a color affinity boost with the release of the new 6++ Uta being a quick shooter as well. So she can be your attack and your orbs and your like chain shenanigans. And then you can do some really, really cool stuff with this guy getting your color affinity as well as getting your conditional boost. So that's actually nice to see. He then, in Rumble, he targets enemies within a large horizontal range for defense down level 4, attack by 1.4 times. And then he gives HP speed up for shooters level 4. When striking with a crit, he gives himself level 5 attack up to 5 times. That's actually really good It's a really good passive, and definitely something that shooters needed. With all the shooter buffs that we've been getting, I'm really actually keen to try out a shooter team once again with like Yasop and Usopp, with this Lucci, with stuff like the Frankie level limit break, with Ben Beckman, Lucky Rude. That could be really, really cool. And you also have something like Kuzan for Sai and quick characters too. He heals 150 at every interval, and then reduces damage taken by strength characters. He also gets a new Sailor ability that boosts shooter and powerhouse characters' base attack by 100. So I think that just might have been a little bit of an increase there. So this Lucci, in my opinion, got a way bigger buff than what the powerhouse Lucci got, to be expected with the Super Evolution. But it is nice to see that they did give both of them a buff. The final unit on the list is this man right here, the original GOAT, Tank Man or Bounce Man Gear Change Luffy, and the Super Evolution, which is Snakeman Luffy. So I'm super keen to see this guy, because this guy does a lot. As you can see here, it is an absolute gobful. So let's take a look here at what his captain actually does. Remember, this guy has a bunch of different gears, so he has a bunch of different captain abilities. At Gear 2, if you guys don't know this character, by the way, but if you're a bit newer to the game, basically he came out alongside V1 Big Mom. No, V1 Big Man and Brook came out. Who did he come out? He came out alongside Nami, and he came out alongside someone else. It was a very long time ago now. It was around just before the 4th year anniversary, I'm pretty sure. And basically, this guy was an absolute monster, and he was so much fun to play with because he has a Captain Action effect. Captain Actions are where you swipe down, just like Frankie and his General Frankie, Sanji and his Skywalk, and this guy had his gear changes. So you'd start at Gear 2, and you could change your gears every time you hit a perfect or every time you eat a recovery orb. That would give you a gear counter, and once you maxed out your gear counters, you could turn into Gear 4. However, you could happily switch between Gear 2 and Gear 3 whenever you liked. Captain ability at Gear 2, boost cruise attack by 4.5 times, HP 1.4, boost the chance of landing on Strength, Quick, and Psi slots, and also boost the chance of landing on recovery slots slightly. He then makes the Quick and Recovery orbs have matching slot effects, and then allows the crew to obtain recovery slots when hitting perfect taps. So from this number got a huge jump. The HP got a huge jump. I'm pretty sure this is new. Boost the chance of landing on these particular orbs, and then slightly boost the chance of landing on recovery slots is very good for obviously his gears. Now you had Chobro. Chobro would give you a full body recovery orbs at the start of the fight, and then you could eat them all, and you just immediately get 6 gear charges. That's what was very, very good, and then you start hitting perfects. The beautiful thing about this now, allowing crew to obtain recovery orbs with perfect taps, was if you had a recovery orb on your Luffy, you couldn't hit a perfect because you'd have to eat the recovery orb. Now, you can get a double gear stack with your Luffys, which is really, really cool because you eat the recovery orb with your perfects, which is awesome. At Gear 3, so if you swipe down, Gear 3 would give you a lower attack boost. As you can see here, it still does the same thing at 4.25, but approximately goes up to 4.75 after landing 2 perfect strikes. So you'd go perfect, perfect, and then you'd get a much bigger captain ability with your back end of damage with whatever content you were running. And now that you can eat recovery orbs, you don't have to worry about not hitting the perfects because you want to eat the recovery orbs for the gear charges. So they fix a lot of holes with this unit, which is actually really, really cool. He still has the 1.4 times HP, which is great. That doesn't change. And then boost the chance of landing on Strength, Quick, Psi, and Recovery slots, making Strength and Recovery slots have matching slot effects, and allows crew to obtain recovery through perfect tap. So you can kind of see what they're doing here. Basically, if you are running 2 of this guy, for whatever reason, nowadays you're probably never running 2 with power creep and some other these are busted units. But if you ran 2 of this guy, you'd run 1 in Gear 2 because then they'd make the Strength, Quick, and Psi orbs more higher chance, and then you'd have the Quick and Recovery as matching, and then this guy here makes the Strength and Recovery as matching, and then Psi slots just kind of floating around. So that's kind of cool. If you do eat 10 recovery orbs or you get the perfects and you build up the gear charge, you can become Gear 4 Bounce Man. Being Bounce Man boosts your crew's attack by 5.25 and HP by 1.4 times, and then boosts the chance of landing on Strength, Quick, and Psi slots, making crew's Strength, Quick, and Psi slots have matching slot effects. Reduces damage by 20% and allows the crew to obtain recovery with hitting perfects. Now, I don't like that they've taken recovery out of the captain ability. Now, recovery orbs aren't actually matching. However, you have a lot of other, ships and stuff that you can use to make recovery matching nowadays, like the Aura Jackson. You also have the Zunesha. And then you have tandem orbs with the whale shark ship. So you can do it that way, or you can use something like sailor abilities, which is another option. But 5.25 is actually wild. Very, very strong captain ability. And then if you eat, I think it's 10 recovery orbs, you can actually turn into Tank Man. Now, when you turn into Tank Man, you get a 5.25 for your crew, but approximately 5.5 for himself. And then boost the chance of strength, quick, and psi. Reduces damage by 50%. And then makes them have matching slot effects as well. So the damage reduction goes up, and then obviously he just gets a better attack boost for himself. So it's just a better version of Bounce Man, but obviously the trade-off is that he is Tank Man and you have all that damage reduction effects. He's special. Now, when you use his special, by the way, you immediately get turned into Bounce Man. So you immediately get the max gear charge, and you stay in this charge for 3 turns. The charges go down, but you can take it out. Like, you can turn off the Bounce Man whenever you like, just by using the captain action or the gear swap, and then go back to 2 and 3 and still have like 6 charges. So it was a really fun and interesting way to play the game once this unit first released. He deals 250 times his attack in non-type damage to all enemies, boosts crew's attack by 2.25 for 1 turn. This used to be 2 times, so that's a little bit of a buff. Makes recovery and tandem slots have matching slot effects for 3 turns. So this is where the recovery gets making up when you are in the Bounce Man and the Tank Man. Because he makes recovery and tandem matching, you don't have to worry about them taking it out of the captain ability. If the crew lands 3 perfect strikes, boost crew slot effects by 2.5, so you get a carryover now of a massive orb boost. And if they are a captain or a helper captain, reduces defense up by 6 turn, bind and attack down by 6 turn. And if you are a captain or helper captain with an active captain ability, so obviously no despair, becomes gear 4 Tank Man when the number of recovery slots is consumed during the quest is 10 or more, becomes the Bounce Man otherwise. So like I said, you can just use the special, become this crazy ass captain for 3 turns, which is really, really cool. If you've eaten 10 recovery orbs, you can get this captain ability. The special goes for like 2 turns as well, which is the same as what his gears would be. If you moved into another stage, you get the attack boost, then you get the orb boost. This guy got a monstrous buff. This guy had an absolute crazy run as like best unit in the game, and honestly for a very long time he was one of the most fun units to run because you could happily switch between his gears and do some really, really cool things. And it was Luffy, like it was Tank Man and Bounce Man Luffy, and it was the first like Bounce Man that we'd gotten in the game, which was actually really, really cool to see. Besides the 6+ of what's it called, Luffy, which was a super evolution, which was really good at the time, but then sort of dropped off really quickly. And this captain action was actually wild when it first released. But then on New Year's, about 3-4 years ago, they gave him a super evolution. And on the banner, you could get this guy guaranteed if you went to the 9th step, which was actually crazy. Because what this guy does, or did at the time, was honestly almost unrivaled, which is actually crazy. Now, on New Year's, just like giving Roger a 6+, they've given this guy a level limit break, and that is super cool to me. I love the consistency there, and I think it's a very, very good time to build up some hype by giving this Luffy a level limit break instead of releasing a new Luffy legend. It's awesome. It's really, really cool to see. I'm a big fan of it. Reduces own special charge by 4 turns at the start of the quest, and reduces crew's special charge by 2 turns at the start of the quest as well. Massive. Actually wild. 2 turns of cooldown is actually insane, and then 4 times to yourself, like, it's wild. He's a 4.5 times rainbow attack booster with a 1.45 times HP. Very tanky, and it makes Dex and Insults have matching slot effects. And then if you use Gum Gun King Cobra, which is his special, he turns his captain ability into the following for 3 turns. He becomes a 5 times captain, and then he does a 5.25 after 3 perfect strikes, and then he also makes Dex and Int slots have matching slot effects, and reduces paralysis by 5 turns. So this guy has become a 4.5 times rainbow captain, which, by the way, this is Roger. Just want to let you know that, like, this is Roger. Not Roger 6+, obviously, but this is Roger. And everyone knows how good Roger was. That's Roger. And then when you use his special, he becomes a 5 times captain. Guess what? That was Roger for 3 turns. That's Roger. It's literally Roger. It's crazy. And then he becomes 5.25 after you land 3 perfects. And he has some utility being the paralysis. Again, Roger has despair. Luffy has paralysis. Really, really cool captain ability. Very, very strong. Great for speed farming. Just an absolute phenomenal, phenomenal buff. Like, it just ticks for me what they needed on this Luffy in every way. They didn't need to do much for this guy. But they did. They bumped his numbers a little bit. They just did very, very well. I'm a big fan of this Luffy, and I'm really, really keen to run him in something like Alvida's Hideout. I'm really, really keen to run him in like other pieces of content because his special was always really good at getting a carryover or buff, which is always fun. His special at stage 1 does 2 turns of damage reduction and defense up, so he now has utility in his special and his captain, which is wild. Deals 150 times character's attack in non-type damage to one enemy, boosts the chain by 0.6 for 1 turn, and makes crew slot effects boosts slot effects by 1.75 for 1 turn. And if the character is a captain or friend captain, makes crew's type slots have matching slot effects for 3 turns. Reduces all enemies' defense up and damage reduction by 6 turns if you get him to stage 2, and then deals 350 times his attack to one enemy. Boosts chains by 0.9 for 3 turns, and boosts crew slot effects by 2.25 for 1 turn. Then, if you hit 3 perfects, it becomes a 2.5 in the following turn, whilst also making slot effects matching for 3 turns. This guy does so much. This special here is very, very good. Remember, he gives himself 4 turns of cooldowns up here as well. And with another Snakeman or another speed farming captain, you're going to get more cooldowns there. Your ship, your... what's it called? Your sockets, you're getting another 3 turns. You're basically having this guy ready by stage 3, which is actually wild. And then you can get around orb interrupts, which is just really, really cool as well. This guy's an absolute demon. I can't wait to use this guy. I think he is honestly by far one of the best level limit breaks we've gotten up there with Bullet, in my opinion. And I'm very, very, very interested to see what this guy can do in actual content with speed farming and stuff like that. Big downside to him, though, he's a Luffy, obviously. He's still built around hitting perfects. Big downside if you're adding stuff like burn and whatnot. But his multipliers are much, much more usable, and he's a very, very cool character. He's special in Rumble, targets enemies with a large range for 2.1 damage, targets strength teammates for attack up level 1 for 6 seconds. That's so weird. What? Why is it level 1? Is it meant to be level 10? Surely it's meant to be level 10. Strength type teammates up level 1, HP up level 1, and for the first 6 seconds about attack up level 3. This looks like he's level 1, not he's level 5. I think this is a typo. This has got to be a typo. I have to wait and see what these Rumble are, but honestly, he's not good in Rumble anyway, so don't worry about him too much. He removes paralysis and then has dex damage reduction by 30%. So, very interesting level limit breaks. I'm a big fan of, obviously, the Luffy, Bounce Man, and Snake Man. I'm a huge fan of Shirahoshi. I think she got a very, very cool buff. I like 6+ Lucci. 6-star Lucci's not overly great. Fuji, probably the worst. And Jinbe, I like how quirky he is, but I'm very keen to see what the Luffys can do. And it's very cool to see that they've done this on New Year's. But if you enjoyed the video, bell the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the big red subscribe button. Most importantly, wherever you are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, I thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Late!